You hear about them all the time, right? These big breakthroughs that promise to change everything. But which ones are actually right around the corner? Today, we're diving into the technologies that are really set to make a splash by 2025. Let's get into it.
I mean, it's the big question, isn't it? What's happening in labs right now that's about to become a part of our everyday lives? Well, that is exactly what we are about to unpack.
And look, we're not just pulling these ideas out of thin air. Our guide for this is the brand new report on the top 10 emerging technologies from the World Economic Forum. They are experts at spotting tech that's hit a tipping point. You know, that perfect moment when a cool science idea is genuinely ready to go mainstream.
And that quote, it really gets to the core of what this is all about. This isn't just some academic list. It's meant to be a practical guide to help leaders close that gap between a brilliant concept and a real world-changing product.
So here's the cool part. Instead of just a simple countdown from 10 to 1, the forum groups all these technologies into 4 huge trends. It gives us a kind of roadmap for where all this innovation is actually heading.
And here they are. These are our 4 big areas. We're going to look at how we're completely redesigning industry and energy to be greener, some mind-blowing leaps in medicine, and, this is a big one, how we keep things safe and trustworthy in our digital world. This is our game plan.
All right, let's dive right into those first 2 trends, which are all about building a more sustainable planet. This is where we see this incredible link between how we power our lives and the actual materials we use to build our world. Get this. Imagine if the body of an electric car wasn't just a frame holding a battery, but the body was the battery. That's the wild idea behind structural battery composites. We're talking about making things like carbon fiber actually hold an electrical charge. It could lead to way lighter, way more efficient electric cars, and maybe even electric planes.
Okay, this next one, it sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. Making clean electricity just from salty water? It's called osmotic power, and it taps into a really basic process in nature. So how on earth does that work?
It all boils down to a super simple rule. Nature loves balance. As the quote explains, if you put a special membrane between salt water and fresh water, the fresh water is going to rush across it to try and dilute the salt. That movement, that rush, creates a ton of pressure, and you can use that pressure to spin a turbine and generate clean, 24/7 power. It's pretty amazing.
We all know how important fertilizer is for feeding the planet. But here's the thing. The way we make it right now is a huge energy hog. Green nitrogen fixation is all about fixing that. It uses systems inspired by nature, like custom-engineered bacteria, to make ammonia for fertilizer without that massive environmental price tag. And if you want to know why this is such a big deal, look at this number, 2%. Just let that sink in. 2% of all the energy used on the entire planet goes into making fertilizer. It's just a staggering amount. So finding a greener way to do this isn't some small improvement. It's a monumental step forward for sustainability.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about our health. This next batch of technologies is set to completely change medicine as we know it, making treatments more personal, more effective, and a whole lot more accessible.
This is just an incredible concept. Instead of making complicated drugs in some giant factory, scientists are basically hiring helpful bacteria to be tiny medicine factories inside our own bodies. This could slash production costs by something like 70% and give people with chronic conditions a steady, reliable source of treatment.
Exactly. So for someone with diabetes, for instance, this could mean that instead of constant injections, you'd have these little helpers inside you making just what you need right when you need it. It's a huge shift toward working with our bodies, not just acting on them.
So our bodies run on these natural things called enzymes. They make all kinds of chemical reactions happen. They're amazing, but they can also be really fragile and super expensive to work with. Well, enter nanozymes. These are lab-made nanomaterials that do the exact same job, but they come with some major upgrades.
And when you put them side by side, the difference is just, wow. Natural enzymes, they're unstable and expensive. Nanozymes, they're super stable, they're cheap, and they're easy to make. This could make them a total game changer for everything from new cancer therapies to cleaning our water. Here's another one of those fascinating connections. There's a class of drugs called GLP-1s that were originally made to treat diabetes, but now it turns out they're showing incredible promise for treating brain diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It seems they help reduce inflammation in the brain, which could be a huge breakthrough for the over 55 million people around the world living with dementia.
And that brings us to our final trend. And honestly, it might be the most important one. In a world of AI-generated content and deepfakes, how do we know what's real anymore?
This section is all about the tech being built to help us trust what we see online.
One of the most powerful tools we have in this fight against misinformation is something called generative watermarking. The idea is actually pretty simple. You bake an invisible digital signature right into AI-generated content, so we can always figure out where it came from.
So how does it work? It's pretty genius. As you can see, when an AI model makes an image, it also weaves a unique, invisible pattern into the pixels. You and I can't see it, but a computer can spot it instantly. It's like a tiny digital stamp that says, "Hi, I'm from AI."
Okay, we've covered new energy, smart materials, incredible biotech, and digital trust. But what's the big picture story here? What's the one single idea that ties all of these different breakthroughs together? If you take one thing away from all this, let it be this: technological convergence. None of these breakthroughs are happening in their own little bubbles. AI is meeting biology, new materials are making clean energy possible. The future isn't about one single invention, it's about how all these powerful tools are starting to work together to solve our biggest problems.
And that leaves us with one last and really essential question. The science is moving incredibly fast. These tools are coming, whether we're ready or not. So the real challenge for all of us isn't just to understand them, it's to decide how we're going to use them to build the kind of future we actually want to live in.